All right. Good day, good morning. Welcome to the HODLNOTS Weekly Warm-Up. I'm John,
I'm Vicky.
and this is the news at 9 a.m. TC. And it's currently 6 o'clock in the morning in New Brunswick, if you're interested. Let's get into some of the crypto headlines over the last few days.
Yes. And if you were not living under a rock this past weekend, you would have seen that Bitcoin tanks to its 11-day low as nearly 500 million liquidations sweep the market. So Bitcoin's price had a quiet weekend, but it did head straight south this morning, Monday morning, by dropping to an 11-day low of around 115,000, depending on what exchange you're looking at. So almost all the altcoins followed suit, with Ethereum dumping to about 4,300 and XRP testing the crucial $3 support zone. So this dip could be because the US Treasury ruled out further purchases for Bitcoin for the US Strategic Treasury. And as we discussed on last week's Happy Hour Hangout, so if you have not watched that, please do. Industry experts believe government adoption remains crucial for Bitcoin's institutional growth, with potential rate cuts and dollar weakness potentially driving further adoption. So we really need that adoption, and we see if no one's adopting, Bitcoin's price is going lower, and that includes the strategic reserve treasury. So that's interesting.
Absolutely. Now, on a
Mm.
similar vein as well, with this recent little dip, there's some good support in the lower time frames, and we do need the support by the global community. Is that Bitcoin biscuit? Bitcoin is risking this new potential correction for 2025, as the price uptrend is now starting in its seventh week. So Bitcoin is almost overdue for another price discovery correction after 6 weeks of gains, week on week. But will Bitcoin price action copy history? Now, we've spoken about a couple of these points, and we will delve into it further in September's HODLNOTS Happy Hangout about the 4-year Bitcoin cycle. Is it still a thing? But some of the key points around this potential seventh week correction includes obviously this 6 weeks of uptrend where this correction is due. We might have a look at the weekly trend and chart for Bitcoin shortly as well. But analysis shows that in previous halving cycles, the Bitcoin price, it tends to halt its second uptrend after 5 to 7 weeks. Okay, some of us know this pattern. But good news, this new dip or this correction would still allow fresh all-time highs in the fourth quarter for Bitcoin, as we traditionally have seen. So, buy the dip, don't fear it. Vicky.
Yeah, and they are buying the dip. So the institutions are buying the dip, with Metaplanet lifting its total Bitcoin holdings to 2.18 billion after its latest buy. So Metaplanet has added another 775 Bitcoin to its reserves, lifting its total holdings to 18,888 Bitcoin, which is an interesting number, isn't it? Um, on Monday, it showed Metaplanet's Bitcoin stash had climbed to about $2.18 billion based on the prevailing exchange rate. This latest purchase extends the rapid run of acquisitions that have cemented the company's place as Japan's most prominent corporate Bitcoin holder. So, as we thought, lots of companies following strategies lead.
Absolutely. And while they're a Japanese company, we do know that the Chinese hold the number 8 and even the 1 and the 6 quite high in regard. So maybe. But we do know they're going to continue to build on that. Now, speaking of building on, we've all been looking for it. We're going to have a look at it in terms of Bitcoin dominance shortly. But Google searches for the word altcoin have hit the highest since 2021 as crypto interest broadens again. So Google Trends has showed search interest of the word altcoin and Ethereum as at its strongest levels in 5 years. The last time activity was this high was around the early growth phase of Ethereum, a period that preceded one of the largest altcoin booms on record. This surge in retail interest also coincides with a dip in Bitcoin's dominance, which has historically signaled the start of a broader altcoin rally or alt season. Now, we're all here for it. Let's see how that plays out going forward.
Yeah, and another company that's jumping on the Bitcoin bandwagon, let's say. So Taiwan's first publicly traded corporate Bitcoin treasury, Topwin, raises $10 million for Bitcoin purchases. So Topwin International, Taiwan's first publicly traded corporate Bitcoin treasury, like I said, raised $10 million to kick off its Bitcoin purchases. The luxury watchmaker turned Bitcoin treasury announced on Friday it raised 10 million from a group of investors led by zipper producer and software, strange combination, company WiseLink. The raise was accompanied by private investments from Chad Kuhn, founder and CEO of United Capital Management of Kansas, alongside four other investors. So, like we said, lots of companies joining the Bitcoin bandwagon at the moment, buying the dip.
Absolutely. Now, if you
Mm.
did join us last week for the monthly HODLNOTS Happy Hour Hangout session, we spoke about this current topic in a fair bit of detail. Now, there are pros and cons to whether Bitcoin hits $1 million in value. It's a matter of when, but is next year too soon? Well, this next story does cover this concept. So, $1 million worth of Bitcoin or per Bitcoin itself in 2026 could signal trouble. This is according to Galaxy Digital CEO Mike Novogratz's comments. And he's said, obviously, we're seeing a new all-time high for Bitcoin at 124,000. But he says that $1 million Bitcoin next year would not be a victory, but rather a sign that the US economy is in serious trouble. To quote him, he says, people who cheer for the $1 million Bitcoin price next year, I was like, guys, it only gets there if we're in such a shitty place domestically. So Novogratz has told, this was in an interview in Cointelegraph's Coin Stories on Wednesday. He says as well, I'd rather have a lower Bitcoin price in a more stable United States than the opposite. Explaining that severe currency devaluations often come at the expense of civil society. So we're all for it. We're all for Bitcoin going to $1 million, as we explained last week, in terms of adoption and a few other things. And we've seen Meta Planets, Strategy, everybody else buying up. But we do want it to be as organic as possible and not just tomorrow, because it could be a sign of really troubling effects and times as well.
Yeah, it looks like the bigger companies also want that because as we spoke about on the Happy Hour Hangout, that prediction was for 2030. So there's still a few years to go before they think that's going to happen. So I think everyone wants it more sensibly done than just exploding next year. So we'll have to look. I mean, who knows? We'll see what happens next year.
Mm.
Now, off Bitcoin for a moment and onto Ethereum. Yes, there are other coins besides Bitcoin. So interesting, we have talked about Bitcoin early adoption wallets and when they're transferring large amounts of coins. But now Ethereum, an investor, has done the same thing. So an Ethereum wallet has awakened and moved $1.5 million after a decade. So we saw the other day that Ethereum, happy birthday, turned 10. So an Ethereum whale from the network's 2014 ICO, so they bought in at pre-launch stage, basically, has moved their entire stash of 334.7 Ethereum, worth over $1.5 million after a decade of inactivity. So the original investment of just $104 in the ICO has now yielded a potential return of over 269x for the owner. Incredible. Long-term holding works, I guess. So this move is part of a growing trend of long dormant wallets from both the Bitcoin and Ethereum networks becoming active again as prices continue to rally. So interesting. Now, ICO, he would have bought or held before it was launched, but 10 years and a 14,000x return isn't bad at all, is it?
No, not at all. I mean,
Mm,
ICOs are not as much of a thing as before,
mm-mm.
but getting in early in
No.
Web3 is something else to
Yeah.
consider. There are a lot of great projects out
Mm.
there. Those of you who know, you know. But moving on, still to a slightly larger scale of Ethereum, and still in the Ethereum train. Some of you might have seen over the weekend that as Ethereum accumulation heats up, we did see that $882 million worth of Ethereum was snapped up by both Bitmine and an anonymous whale. So this unknown whale and Bitmine have acquired nearly $882 million worth of Ethereum through major OTC desks, over-the-counter desks, and exchange withdrawals in a show of growing institutional demand. So this public Bitcoin mining firm, Bitmine, um, more specifically Bitmine Immersion Technology, has led the charge, scooping up 485,000 Ethereum worth roughly $470 million worth over the last 10 hours, or this was at least over the weekend. This miner or the miners company latest haul has brought their total holdings to 1.297 million Ethereum, valued at about 5.75 billion, according to these transactions that have been tracked. Adding to that buying spree, an unidentified whale has quietly amassed 92,899 Ethereum, around $412 million worth over the last couple of days. So this whale has set up 3 fresh wallets before withdrawing the funds from Kraken, suggesting a deliberate long-term storage strategy. Now, this is the thing, ladies and gents. It was Bitcoin, it's Ethereum, Solana, and I'm feeling that Ripple's going to be the next. We're starting to see lots of whales, lots of people, lots of institutions starting to accumulate. Some of them quiet, some of them not so quiet. And we know that long term, crypto is here to stay, not just Bitcoin. And we might start to see this as well with some of the other medium caps as well going forward.
Yeah, good point. Because Solana is in the news at the moment because a company called Galaxy is trying to start a spot Solana ETF. So we've talked a lot about Bitcoin ETFs, Ethereum ETFs, so exchange traded funds. And if you're not sure what that is, 2 times ago we talked about that on the Happy Hour Hangout. But the US Securities and Exchange Commission, is SEC, has formally acknowledged the filing of the Invesco Galaxy Spot Solana ETF, making it a key procedural step in its potential approval. The proposed exchange traded fund is designed to track the spot price of Solana while incorporating a staking feature to provide additional returns to investors. So Invesco and Galaxy Digital submitted the application back on 25 June of this year via the CBO BZX exchange, alongside a proposed rule change for listings and trading in the ETFs, which now triggers the SEC formal review process. So this review encompasses evaluations of custody arrangements, market surveillance measures, and investor protection protocols. Now, although no Solana ETFs have yet received approval from the SEC, a growing number of asset managers, including Bitwise, Grayscale, and Canary, have filed similar applications. So analysts expect that the agency could issue approvals by this October, which would represent a significant step in integrating Solana into regulated financial markets. So we all know what happened when Bitcoin ETF came out and the Ethereum ETF came out, and XRP is also looking at an ETF, and now Solana. So watch the Solana space in October.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Mm,
$180 at the moment. Wait,
mm,
wait till October. We'll have a look then, definitely.
yeah.
And to the last story as well, we're going to just talk a little bit of real life application. We do these little stories as well around how global crypto adoption is changing. We did cover a story last week and in the 4H around using Bitcoin to pay your rent in certain countries and cities around the world. But this going to Thailand, we've touched on this before. There's been a development. Thailand is planning to launch their crypto payment scheme for tourists. So Thailand is reportedly planning a nationwide regulatory scheme allowing foreign visitors to convert crypto into their local currency for electronic payments in a bid to boost tourism. Known as Tourist DG Pay, the plan is expected to go live soon and allow users to exchange cryptocurrencies for Thai baht and make electronic payments through e-money service providers. So again, another great adoption by a Southeast Asian country, and we're starting to see this roll out even more around the world, whether it be through rent or any other sort of tourism services and that kind of thing. We know that people have purchased cars using cryptocurrency. But global adoption, as Vicky has mentioned earlier, we'd love to see that increase. We will see that increase. We are seeing that. We're living in the present moment where it's incredible, and there are great things to come. So for those of you who are in the crypto space and you know about it, and those of you still learning about it, tell your friends and family, get them into crypto, help drive the global crypto adoption going forward. All right, moving on from crypto news, let's head into some of the other regular features and some exciting things around this still to come. So Vicky, over to you for now.
Yeah, actually, did Marcel buy his Lamborghini with Bitcoin? He said on the
His Land
call.
Rover, not
Mm.
Lamborghini. He's
Oh, Land Rover. I thought he said Lambo. There you go. Okay, so he's not on the call, but let the cat out of the bag anyway. So yeah, over to that fear and greed index. So we are seeing people a little bit more fearful, which of course would have probably happened because of the dip. So this week, the fear and greed index has fallen closer to the fear at 60, down from last week's 70, signaling that the drop from the last few days has spooked a few people. So it really still looks positive though, because it isn't into the fear, it's still at 60. So we really should probably not have too much to worry about with that. So that's good news.
It is good news. So let's have a look at some of
Mm.
the actual numbers and actual some of the real
Mm.
figures. Despite the little bit of a pullback, this is what the current one-day chart looks like for Bitcoin. And yeah, not overly scared, not overly worried. It was great to see a new all-time high. Just pipped over the previous one as well, 124,474, currently sitting at 114. Oop, it's just dipped below. However, if you go and look down on the lower time frames, you can look down here, you can start to see a little bit of support, but we're still looking at the day, right? So we know there's a lot going on. Let's just keep it a little simple for now. For those of you who understand where we're at in terms of the general trend, look at that, guys. I mean, a little bit of a sideways motion, but look, the overall trend, there are a couple of things that are telling you as well. If we simplify it even further, and we do this, okay. Really not that bad. Look at that. Fantastic. Okay. We knew there was a little bit of resistance, hence those zones up there. But it's okay. You know why? It's because BlackRock, Metaplanet, Similar Scientific, and everybody else are all buying these dips as well. So, and if not, scalp trading, there's lots of green in the market, right? Oh, they're coin running at the moment. But what is going to drive this really going forward? And we know that it is Bitcoin dominance. We've spoken about this. We'll continue speaking about it. And we're still below the psychological barrier level there of 60%. And excuse me, this is just a minor thing at the moment, just meaning more money is flowing into Bitcoin at the moment with this current rise. Um, as Bitcoin stabilizes, give it a day or two, we'll probably see this probably level off and then perhaps start to drop down again. And that's what we're looking for in terms of that Bitcoin dominance. All right, if we look at the general trend of things, all right, whole bunch of things telling you that the trend is down despite everything. You can see that it's currently dealing with a little bit of resistance. If anything, it's going to struggle up here again and come down. So we're not worried. We're just waiting for the right moment. And again, give it a day or two. And as a friend of mine has said, don't look at the charts today. Just head on over to that area called outside. When last were you out there? So do some things, touch some grass. Don't worry, crypto market is not going anywhere. It's just taking a little breather. So all good in the hood.
Yeah, and it will be, and the reason why it will be better is because most of you are in the lodge. So while this little lull's happening, we have an opportunity to learn more things and ask more questions. So another week rolls into the lodge. The weeks are just going faster and faster, I think, this year. And it all starts tomorrow again on Tuesday with Wendy's Lodge call, and that's at 8 a.m. UTC. So for those of you on the call who doesn't know what the Lodge is, everyone that's done the HODLNOTS course, when they graduate, they get to go into the den, which is our trading room, and the Lodge, which is our training room, and they're both on Telegram. And in the Lodge, we can ask questions, we can answer questions, we share recipes and life and everything else. It's really a good community. But Wendy trades and trains every week. And sneak peek, you heard it here first. For everyone on the call that is in the Lodge, we are going to be doing another session, not this week, probably next week, around scalping versus longer term trading versus hodl fire training, because I think a lot of people are getting a little bit confused what to do where. And even though it's very similar, we're going to do one of those next week. So get into the Lodge if you aren't there, and stay in the Lodge if you are there, because I think that'll be a great call. Because the den is evolving. We are scalping, but we're also now longer-ish term trading, and we're definitely hodl firing. So I think that'll be a good call for everyone to make a little bit more money in the den. Okay, then the week. Oops, sorry, Don. I'm just going to say something.
You
No.
carry on.
Okay, so the week continues on Tuesday with the first of the two weekly calls for those currently enrolled in the self-paced course. So we do have a self-paced course, and we do have two calls a week, one on Tuesday, one on Thursday, for those people that are on that course. And then the HODL Fire this week, the HODL Fire call this week is at 12 p.m. UTC on Wednesday, and hosted by our very own John Wine. So that is not to be missed. And there actually have been some great coin calls on the previous sessions that have just run and run and run. So everyone on the HODL Fire, please get on that call. We'll discuss Bitcoin dominance, we'll discuss Bitcoin, but most of all, we'll discuss coins that could be potentials. And he's made some great calls, and actually so has the community. So, kudos to everyone on those calls. So again, 12 p.m. UTC this Wednesday. And then the week also continues on Wednesday with the first of our HODL.help calls. So people that are still scalping and love scalping and are part of the 3M challenge, that is the first call, 8 p.m. UTC. And then the week continues with the second of our 3M challenge calls on Thursday, and that's 8 a.m. UTC. And then also on Thursday, like I said, is the second of our self-paced calls. And then in between those are newly minted HODLNOTS. The people that actually graduated last week are having another call where it's basically almost the end of the course now for them. But thank you for everyone. I think that a few of them are on there. So they're in the Lodge, they're in the den, and they're actually participating and interacting with everyone. So it's great to see. We're one big family. So thanks for interacting with them, and thank you for interacting with everyone else. That's really how the den and Lodge are thriving. So it's wonderful to see. And then the last thing, of course, Marius has his long-term trade report call on Thursday at 10 p.m. UTC. And as I keep mentioning, it's great to know where the trends are going so we can scalp and hodl fire in the middle of those. So that is a lot to do in the Lodge. And like I said, that special announcement for everyone on this call about the call probably next week, not this week.
Absolutely. Just seeing some of the comments coming in. Yes, do not mix your trading styles. Now, speaking about minting, some people mint NFTs, some people mint HODLNOTs. That's what we do. So, yeah, we'll get more into that later. We do have another live course happening in a month. So, yeah, we'll be talking about that in the future. But for the moment, let's stick with the present and some of the past. Hopefully, you guys have been on the call the last couple of weeks. We've been talking about this new contest where we've had a bit of pantomime, charades, a bit of acting out these different letters.
Wait, uh,
There was one of them.
number one.
It was a letter.
No,
The other way. All right. So we've had two letters so far. We don't know how many letters are going to be. The whole idea is that if you can guess the word that we're acting out, the letters are jumbled around. This will be the third one this week. If you can guess today in the session now live, what you think it might be, there's the next letter. Okay, that's as close as you guys all know the YMCA, right? So there we go. So all right. Um hang on, no, don't confuse them, right? It's that letter. So we've got three letters so far. It might be a four letter, a five letter, a six letter, seven letter words. If you want to guess, take a guess what the word might be. You're gonna win that HODL fire for 30 days. Any guesses? Pop it in right now. All right. All you gotta do is just look out for these letters. If we don't get anybody this week, there's still obviously next week and the week after maybe, etc. So, any guesses? If not, we'll hold on. All right. Oh, okay. We had a few last week. They were incorrect. People a little worried. No. Okay. What is the thought for the week as we're going forward, Vicky?
Oh, okay. So whoever, you know that saying, out of sight, out of mind? So whoever believes out of sight, ever mind, never had a spider disappear in their bedroom.
It's even worse than a tent when you go camping, but yes. All right. No guesses. All right. People are a little stumped. That's okay. Speaking much stumped, we're going to call this a wrap. Thank you for being with us on the weekly warm up. Lots happening over here in HODLNOTS regarding training and sessions. So thank you all for being on the call. Hopefully, you all learned something. Yes, we see all the appreciation. We'll see you guys on a call this week. Otherwise, definitely next week, Monday, and look out for that next Ask session, Advanced Sculpting Knowledge, as we go into for the rest of August. And let's get Bitcoin up. Thank you, guys. Catch you next week. Bye bye.